conversation tonight. Oftentimes, I talk about sexual abuse, I talk to people, and those that have never had the experience, and even some of you that has had the experience and that are still operating and walking in shame, they say to me that what they would have done. They often say they would have done, they would have beat the person up, they would have told someone. They would have. Isn't that something? Everybody has a story what they would have done until they're called to the courtroom, until they're put on the platform, until it's time to tell your story. Many of you take offense. Don't take offense to the comments, because hey, that is their perception. Don't take offense to what people say or how they respond when you're trying to share your story. I will always tell you to find someone that has a understanding. In all our getting, we should get an understanding. And to those of you that don't like talking about this subject, maybe peep in every now and then, or maybe feel like, why do we keep having this conversation? Because we need to kick down the door of shame. We need to kick down that door that keeps us hiding. And I want to say to you, please stay safe. Please continue to social distance yourself and wear your mask and wash your hands, which most of us do. So I want to thank you once again for coming in here. I want to thank every one of you for purchasing one of my books, and I pray that you can get through the story without judgment. Just get through the story, and the half has not been told. Half of your story has not been told. So let's get to it tonight. My topic tonight is my reality may not be your reality. What I feel, what I experience may be totally different. And you noticed that with me and Pastor on last week, even his reality of dealing with a wife that has been sexual abused, it was a total different experience than what I experienced. His reality was different than my reality. So, and what is reality? The state of things as they actually exist, and opposed to an idealistic notion. My reality may not be your reality. Perception is reality, or is reality perception? You know, people say that perception is everything, because you can know a thing or you can think a thing, but how I perceive it, that's everything. That's our thought process. Once we perceive it as so, it is like point blank, period. That is it. So I'm going to give you a couple opinions. I'm going to talk about an unrealistic point of view, and I'm going to talk about a realistic point of view. Just a few questions that I have. But so many point of views are often heard. People say they would have done this differently. Reality is that realistically isn't that what you all say. So, an unrealistic point of view tonight. Is it true you will get over it as soon as it happened, or tomorrow? Is that realistic? And the question is, how long does it take for a person to get over sexual abuse? That's my question for you tonight. Or what do you think how long should it take? And listen, I know that sometimes we have loved ones, we have family members. You may even tell me, Sheila, you need to stop talking about it. You ought to be over it. Listen, I am over a lot of things. But let me say this to you. Sexual abuse, for me, is a lifetime sentence, just like murder. Something has been taken away. It was very drastic. It was very demeaning. And it hurt my life. It hurt my trajectory of where I was going, my plans. It hurt my life. I wanted to be a pediatrician. I couldn't retain information. So you can't tell me that it's not a lifetime sentence. But I'll listen to your point of view. Everything changes when a person has been sexually abused, and you should speak on it. Everything changes. Your point of view, your trust factors, your sexuality, your sexual experience, your outlook on life, how you measure, how you value yourself. Many, many things change when a person has been sexually abused. So, send me your questions. Send me your answers to the questions. Another thing I would like to say, if you don't speak on it, everything stays the same. There's a silence that goes along with sexual abuse, not only with the shame, but with the accusations that it's not true. Back to that perception, and when someone say, "I don't believe you," or when a parent or a guardian says, "I don't trust you," or "you made it up." So people be shut down. They become silent, and they don't want to talk about it anymore. But I want to say the reality is you should talk about it. You should share it with somewhere, and you should talk about it. You don't have to hold it in. Another thing, sexual abuse only happened to special people. Fast girls, promiscuous boys, weirdos, the quiet people. Is that true? That's somebody's unrealistic point of view. And you know, there's people that really will make those kind of statements and say, if you wasn't so fast, that wouldn't have happened to you. If you wasn't so weak, that wouldn't have happened to you. If, they have all these claims of how a person could have not experienced sexual abuse, whether they be a child or an adult. And that is unrealistic conversation. So realistically, I want to say it can happen to anyone at any time. And we must keep safe. It's no different than talking about COVID. You can be anywhere and someone cough and sneeze. You can't pick and choose what can happen to you in this life. That's my perception. Because if we did pick and choose what can happen to us, everything would be great. We would all be well. We would all feel well, and we would never have any bad experience. So it can happen to anybody, anywhere. So be careful. Be careful and be mindful. Everyone, this is another unrealistic view. Everyone's sexual abuse experiences ends tragically. And I know that the experience is tragic, but it doesn't have to be your end. Everyone does not recover at the same pace, nor do they heal at the same pace, but everyone can be healed. The tragedy is that so many times when a person experiences sexual abuse, they go into the trauma of it, send them onto different kinds of whirlwinds. Some people go into drugs. Some people go into sex. Some people can't never get their psychological mind back together. Some people they walk down that dark place and they stay in that dark place, not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But I come to tell you tonight, no matter what your experience is, no matter how rough it is, I have met people that have recovered, that walk in their sane mind, that walk, and just because I'm talking about this tonight, I'm not being affected by it emotionally. And I'm not saying that we can have conversations and I won't get emotional. But I've learned that just because something happened to me, it doesn't validate my future, who I am. I am present. I am not that little girl. I am not that woman that was abused. I have moved on and I have recovered, and I'm very thankful, and I'm constantly still looking for things to bless me, things that make me happy, things that make me feel peaceful, things that give me peace of mind. And those are the things that I'm drawn to. And tragically, oftentimes, people that are abused, they stay in them same circles and they visit that same cycle over and over again. And the mind can only take so much. The body can only take so much abuse. Spiritually, the Bible says a wounded spirit who can bear. So I'm telling you, you can get up from that place. It is unrealistic to say that you cannot. You can recover. You can get up. You can walk it out. The trauma is often so deep. It is mental, it is physical, and it is spiritual. And it doesn't matter what the experience, whether it was an experience that wasn't, say, physically abusive, it still was emotional and mentally and spiritual abusive. But you still can get through the trauma. You can heal. And you can, when those thoughts come, you can put them behind you. You can put them under your feet. You can still walk in your greatness. So be great. You need help from sometimes, and I have gotten help from professionals. Hi, Carla. I have gotten help from, hi, Anna, how are you? Make sure you answer some of those questions while you're watching. I have gotten professional help. I've sat with family that I found listeners. I found spiritual leaders to help me, that sit down and talk to me, or even sometimes I haven't even talked with, just listening to the words of affirmation, of positivity. You can find good counsel. You have to find good counsel. Find someone. And sometimes I remember when I wanted to talk about it with my mother. You know, I am 61 years old, and I have yet, even when my mother was living, she never wanted to discuss it. I say, Mama, I would like to talk about it. And she says, not now, little by little. So what do you do when you have someone that don't want to deal with my issues because it affected her life? She would have had to address some of her issues. And my mother, unfortunately, she used alcohol to cover her pain. Or what do you call that? When people use alcohol and drugs to, what's the word I'm looking for here? But that's what she did. She never wanted to talk about it. And if she did, I don't know, maybe she's talked to someone else. But she kept silent. And in her silence, I believe it tortured her, because I knew that she loved me in her way. She just didn't have the strength to protect me. What about your loved ones? So maybe your mother don't want to talk about it. Maybe your father don't want to talk about it. Maybe your loved ones. And if someone come to you, can I encourage you, if someone come to you, listen. The worst thing you can say to a person is, I don't believe you. If you wasn't there, how would you know? Let them tell their story. Let them vent their issues. Let them talk about it. Let them share their pain. And then, if you can't handle it, recommend a professional. Recommend someone else. Sit with them. Be supportive. These conversations must be had in order for us to have a better society, a better family. The worst thing, someone told me last year that they finally, well, they didn't tell me, I had heard. And I won't, oftentimes, I won't say names of people and I won't tell you exactly who it is, but I will bring up a scenario. But there was a scenario that a lady finally told her mother that the grandfather was molesting her. Um, I don't know personally what exactly happened. But the mother said, why did she wait? I don't know what she said to the daughter, but she said, why did she wait till now? Let me tell you, it doesn't matter. If they wait 20 years, 30 years, let them speak. Let them, that might be the first day of freedom. That might be the first day of happiness for them. That may be their first day of joy. That may be the day that they become free and that they become healed. That's the reality. Let it come. Okay? Are you enjoying this conversation? Any questions? Anybody have any questions that they would like to share with me tonight? And this is a big one. Hi, Joanne. Love you, girl. Mother Joanne, how you doing? This is a big one. It cannot be avoided. Or can it be avoided? Now, that's my unrealistic point of view. It cannot be avoided. Or I'm asking you, can sexual abuse be avoided in our world today? Can sexual abuse be avoided in your home? Can sexual abuse be avoided in your churches? Can sexual abuse be avoided in the streets? I know a lady when I was a child, they tell me that she was walking in front of her daughter was walking ahead of her, and the little baby was snatched in. She had to be, I don't know, walking age 5 or I don't know how the little girl was. But she was walking in front of the mom. They snatched her in, and then the mom had to go in and see about her child. He raped her and cut her throat. She lived to survive, and she was a beautiful woman, and she lived to survive, and that was very tragic. And I lived in Chicago, where rape was just a regular thing every day, all day long. I remember one of my loved ones just almost got raped and was in the hallway just crying and crying, and the man ran away. I remember one of my loved ones when she was a little bitty girl. She was raped at, was she 3 years old, by a 36-year-old man. I'm asking you, now maybe her parents, I'm asking you, can it be avoided? I'm going to say, I don't know. What do you think? Can sexual abuse be avoided? Can our children avoid the perpetrators? You see, these people are clamming in people's windows getting their children. We never heard about the end of John Bonet. We've never heard the conclusion to so many stories. Just cases went cold. All I can tell you is to be careful. It most certainly can be avoided as much as possible. Watch your children. Know the people you are around. Tell the truth to other family members. Now, I had a family member that was close within my family, and when her child began to sexual abuse, she came to me and she said, hey, he's been molesting children, so watch your children. And that she gave me warning. She didn't let him come around. As soon as she found that out, and we discussed it. And I don't know if I had the best discussion with her because I became, very offensive or watchful to my own children. And a lot of times I didn't know that we needed to have the conversation. But just think if someone had to set us down and talk with us and talk with him. Because later on, he went into just a spiral, and it just became a way of life for him. And his life has just been tragic. But the thing that I appreciated was that my loved one came and sat with me. You got to not take it so personal when someone around you is dealing with that issue. You can't just let it be hid, especially if you're going to leave the person there with you and then you just going to run on, go to work or whatever, these things can be avoided at least through conversation, at least through letting people know, letting your family members know. So if you know someone that does have those tendencies, use wisdom. Now, I asked the gentleman before we came on tonight, can sexual abuse be avoided? Someone said, no spending the night, and that was one of my things with my children, like, no spending the night. People can spend the night over here, and even when I started having my grandkids come over, everybody had their own separate bed, no sleeping in the bed together, because sometimes other children come over and you don't know what's going on in their house. That's the problem. We think all children are children and are in a children's state of mind, but some have had experience and then they transfer it or they try it or it just become a way of life for them. So one thing we can do is not let them spend the night. Another thing, someone said that it's hard to avoid unless you're going to watch your children all day long, all night long. How can we do that? How can you can't let them go to daycare. You have to be watchful. You have to be protective. Unless we live in a bubble, how can this be avoided? You tell me if you have some answers that'll make life different for all of us, for our future, for our children. Well, I always tell people, if they didn't babysit you, don't let them babysit your children. And someone posted, they said, well, all the people that babysitted me is passed on now. The people that you trust, the people that you know is not dealing with that issue. And even somebody that babysitted me when I was a kid may change. So we just have to have wisdom. We have to be, if you're spiritual minded, be prayerful and have deep, deep discernment. And Lord, help us. You know, it used to be grandmas. You can have them help take care of your children, but we're placing our children everywhere today. We'll send them here. We'll send them there. We're tired. We need a break. But I want to say to you, be that person that a child can be safe. And if you have a problem, get you some help. Any questions, anybody? Good evening, Amber. How are you? Okay, I'm going to read a little bit from my book. So, you know, like I say, my reality may not be your reality. So I want to tell you, stop telling people what you would have done. What you should be saying is, I thank God that I didn't have to deal with that issue. Carla says, I've come in contact with both genders that have experienced sexual abuse. I don't view it as gender specific. It's not gender specific. Some people, you know, I used to be so adamant because it happened to me. I would just watch over my daughters until someone said, you better watch your sons. And that is so right. It's not gender specific. And it's not age specific either. They'll rape your grandma. That's right. They'll rape your 2-year-old. You hear it in the news. It's little 2 years. Because why? Because y'all don't want to talk about it. We don't want to address it. We don't want to sit with the family. We don't want to find that 1, 2, 3, 4. One of y'all got an issue. Let's deal with it. It's tragic. Yes, Mr. Pastor Calvert.
I just see a comment from a former co-worker of mine. His name is Preston. And he just said the rise of sexual abuse coincides with the rise of pornography. It's how we as society view women. You can't stop bad people from doing bad things, but I'm in favor of severe punishment for abusers. That's what he wrote.
And yes, we have been talking about that we need to address the laws and change the laws. But like Mr. Preston said, how we view women, how we view ourselves. And a lot of times we're looked at, and we talked about that a couple weeks ago, Preston, about the place that the part that the man in our life should play, the men in our life, our fathers, our brothers, our grandfathers should find value, and we should get to the root of the problem. And we did talk about one of the problem is pornography and the things that we practice on a daily issue. But my focus tonight is your perception may not be my reality. So let me read a little bit. About what from my book, and I want everyone to make sure you get a copy. Hit me in the messenger, and we'll get you a copy out to you shortly. A word of encouragement. In this book, I have in the back different ways to encourage different experiences. So a word encouragement to the abused. It was normal for me to hear of girls being raped and abused and trampled over. You know, that's bad when that's my reality. And that's not everybody's reality. To some people, they've been protected, they've never heard it. But that was my norm. We used to go to funerals of the girls in Chicago. It was just like a regular thing. I've seen beautiful women senselessly maimed, both physically and mental. I've seen their attire change from St. John fashion collection to trashy and unkept clothes and hair. I've seen women use drugs to cover their shame and pain. If you know one of these women, or if you've been this woman, share your story. Tell your testimony. Let survivors of sexual injustice know that they are not alone and there is healing and deliverance for everyone. And that's another perception. I know that everyone have a different experience, but you can recover. You can survive. You can get through this. Not every story has to end tragically. We can ensure that by speaking out and speaking up. We have to tell. I'm going to read also encouragement for you, sister girl. No, I'm going to read encouragement for the abused woman. Women who experience abuse often live in isolation. Abusers want these women to solely depend on them. When your spirit is crushed, it is almost impossible to be who you're meant to be. Victims of abuse often go to their graves, never having shared their gifts and talents with the world. God created you for purpose, not to be destroyed by the hands of humans. It is a tragedy when your life purpose goes unfulfilled. There is a greatness in all of us. It can be birthed out of us at any time. Every moment is a God-given moment, and it is perfect for us to spread our beautiful wings. Be free in Jesus' name. Be free. Escape isolation and meaningless relationships that destroy your greatness and your worthy. And I always like to address the church before I leave. I want to say to our church leaders, pastors, the fivefold ministries, prophets, evangelists, and I know some of you don't want to talk about it. I know you don't want to talk about it. You rather just say, praise the Lord. You rather just sing a worship song. You rather just run around the church. You rather just act like it didn't happen to your child. You rather just forget about that pornography is in your church, pedophiles is in your church, until it come out in the news. I want to encourage you to research, read, find ways, take responsibility. If you are a leader, if you are a boss, if you are in charge, there is a responsibility for you to address the issues that lie dormant in your church. The issues, and I know because I personally have had to go talk to a pastor who didn't say anything but one thing and never talked about it again. We cannot just continue, and we wonder why so many things are shut down. We can't just continue to act like nothing is happening that we can shout over it, we can praise over it, we can just have a big family picnic over it, a family reunion over it. No, we need to address this pain in our families, in our churches, in our communities. That's why we have so many unresolved issues, but this is one that is most valuable. It is very valuable to watch your children. And we can't even address the issue of being parenting over your own children, having children and then letting someone else take responsibility, letting someone else raise your children. There are so many issues that comes with sexual abuse, and we will get to it issue by issue. I want to say thank you for coming in tonight, and I want to say, pastors, you have to show up. We're dealing with some things that shouting over it will not is not the answer. Speaking in tongues over it is not the answer. Prayer will open doors, and prayer should open our understanding. Prayer is always important, but that's not all we need to do. We need to pray and get counsel and deal with the issue. And when you don't know what to do, always seek researchers. There's great men out here that'll help you deal with it. You got Pastor Calvert you can call on, and he would love to give you some instruction, some direction. But what we cannot do is let it be okay what happened to our children in our homes, in our schools, in our communities, and then we want them to just be great, and we won't listen to their pain. So remember tonight that perception, my perception may not be your perception. My reality may not be your reality, but at least listen. At least listen, because what's real for me, what's a real experience for me, it may not be real because you've never experienced. And me and my friend get into it often because she said, I would have done this. I said, you sound like the people that always say if they were in slavery, what they would have done. You don't know what you would have done until you in that situation yourself. So let us have an attitude of no judgment, an attitude of care, an attitude of concern, and let's not blame ourselves. Even when you come to the reality, mothers, friends, sister, brother, pastor, you say, hey, I didn't listen well. It's okay to be somebody different today. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. I listen better. I hear better. And we must change. We must change. We must address our issues and change and not be angry and bitter, but become better. God bless you. Thank you once again for being with us tonight. Thank you guys for supporting me as I open this topic. And I tell you, it is not fun being me. It is not fun talking about things that people don't want to talk about, addressing issues people don't want to address. People become angry, they become offensive, and they become, but I'm here to encourage. I'm not here to tear down and to embarrass you. No matter where your abuse came from, it was not your fault. God bless you.